all that.
I have stories about priests that I can tell you that are not great.
That sounds like we should cut that because it sounds like you're going to go somewhere really dark.
That's for a different podcast.
Yeah.
How about we just do like horror stories about our lives?
Welcome back to the Shaken Not Scared podcast. Here with you as always, your hosts Erick and Vivi. Today we're going to be talking about the 2014 movie Jinn, directed by Ajmal Zaheer Ahmad. But before we get into that, how are you, Vivi?
I'm good. I'm excited because we have another guest today.
Yay! Who is it?
It's Bilal.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for bringing me on. I'm like such a big fan, so I mean, I'm flattered if anything, but I'm excited. I mean, like it's crazy because like I like listen to you guys all the time, and I know a lot of my friends do too, like while I'm working out, whatever. But now I'm like talking to you. It's weird.
You're
Deja vu.
listening to yourself, which is odd.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna skip this episode later on, just like the one that I don't listen to. But I'm really excited.
And you picked the movie for today.
Yes, sir. So basically, I wanted to pick a movie that had some sort of influence to my own culture, and I feel like my culture, my religion isn't really taken in Western media that often. So I felt like this was a good idea, at least to check out this movie to see how they did. And yeah, I mean, that's why I think I picked the movie of Jinn, and I can go more into detail about, what Jinn are and everything in a bit. But yeah, that's mainly why we chose it.
I have not heard of this movie.
Yeah, neither have I. But it sounds like, you found it just from doing some quick searches, right?
Yeah, I remember this, like, I used to go to a private Islamic school, like, back in the day and, like, during middle school, and I just remember, like, we used to, like, discuss these things, you know what I mean? Because obviously they have to do with, like, religion, and, like, my teacher just wanted to, like, hype us up, and he's like, there's a movie coming out about this. And back then, I wasn't, like, a big horror fan or whatever, so I wasn't really, like, interested. Yeah. But now, like, why not check it out?
I'm wondering even if it is a horror, right? Because as we were watching it, there's themes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of jumbled between a lot of stuff. Like, I was
When I looked it up, it said it was classified as a thriller, but there's definitely some, like, jump scares.
I definitely don't see thriller at all.
I was not thrilled.
It was, like, intention of horror, and then I don't think that really...
They executed it, right?
Yeah, the creepy parts were kind of cool. And we'll talk about it, obviously, when we jump into it. Before we jump into it, I do want to bring out that, horrifyingly enough, Loki ate our table this week.
So you did not have a good week.
So it was fantastic. It's the best week I've ever had. But I guess we could just jump into creepy content. Bilal, what are you reading? What are you watching?
Yeah, so recently, I've had a lot more time on my hands since, like, the school year ended. I'm a college student, if you guys didn't already know. And so I found this show on Netflix called Castlevania. It's, like, an animated series. And honestly, like, I binge-watched the entire, like, all 4 seasons. And, it's, like, at first I was like, like, I don't really know how I felt about it. But, like, it really carried on. And the animation is just so good. And basically, if you haven't watched it before, it's basically, the storyline is that Count Dracula, his wife gets murdered by humans, and so he wages war on the rest of the humanity, basically. So, it just carries on to, like, lots of different plots within there, but it's definitely, if you're interested in that type of creepy stuff, I definitely say you should.
So the fact that you're we said Zillennial, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that Castlevania was a video game?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
I'm not that out of it, Eric.
I was asking her if I just saw the trailer for He-Man, and I was like, you know He-Man? And she's like, I knew of him, I didn't really watch it. I was like, what do you mean? I almost flipped the table.
We've seen the first 2 seasons. We haven't finished the last 2 because I think you didn't catch up and you were like, wait for me to watch it. So, no spoilers.
Yeah.
So.
Falling behind.
It definitely picks up, and the animation definitely is really well. Whatever they're paying those animators, they're paying them good.
Yeah, the animation is really cool.
It's really cool.
Good too. Is that all you got?
And also, I've been catching up with Handmaid's Tale because I just recently started watching it again. Kind of dark, definitely kind of depressing to watch, but I definitely think it's really intriguing. Definitely brightens your day in a different way. I highly recommend people to check that out too if you're looking for something more dramatic.
Are you watching season 4?
Yeah, I'm basically up to date.
It's a good show. It makes me feel really shitty as a man.
Yeah, you're like, damn.
Know your privilege.
It's funny because that actor, Fred, Fred, you know him. The actor who plays Voldemort, he's like related to him.
Really? Well, I can kind of see that.
They kind of look alike, yeah.
Huh.
I could be wrong, but I think it's his brother, so it's just funny to see.
I want to go into the next episode tomorrow and just imagine him with no nose.
He also was in a movie called Shakespeare in Love, which is a romantic comedy, so it's weird to see him play, like, he's really good at being a villain and you freaking hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate his essence.
I hate him and... Okay, listen, we can talk about this show. Him and Serena suck, okay?
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
Cool. What about you?
I have not had a lot of time, unfortunately, but I I have been listening to this audiobook while working. TikTok has ruined my life. I say this every episode. One day, I'll admit I'm an addict. I've gotten on creepy book TikTok. I started another one. It's called Tender is the Flash by Agustina.
Bazterrica?
Bazterrica could be her last name. I could be pronouncing it totally wrong.
Bazterrica.
And it's basically, the premise is that plague has wiped out all the animals and humankind no longer has animals to eat, and they have resorted to cannibalism to the point where they raise humans as cattle. So there's like the humans and the not humans that are cattle.
So Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
If they mass produced and was like allowed by the government. That's basically it.
Sounds good.
I've literally only read a chapter and I'm already horrified, and it's addicting. And then we've been watching, I guess, I don't think this is really creepy, but it reminds me of Robot Chicken so much. And we were not allowed to watch Robot Chicken.
Neither was I.
Yeah. There's this show on Hulu called
M.O.D.O.K.
M.O.D.O.K.
Yeah, do you know what M.O.D.O.K. stands for?
Master of something.
No, it's machine only designed.
You don't know either.
I used to know. His name went through so many changes, but originally it was...
Everyone's screaming at you right now.
They are. Mental organism designed only for killing.
Yeah, something like that. We've been watching it. It's hilarious. It's like Robot Chicken took that villain and made an ordinary person.
The reason that we're bringing this up probably for horror is because it's not that the show is horror, it's gory as hell for some reason.
Like Robot Chicken. Yeah. Like you would be watching it and suddenly everyone exploded or died in Robot Chicken. And you're like, oh, okay. What have you been watching?
Also not creepy, but Loki started up this week. Loki's obviously having a blast because he hears his name 1,500 times.
Yeah.
It's good. The first episode was kind of sad. If you guys are not watching it, you're missing out. It's coming out every Wednesday on Disney+. So I'm watching that, and then Handmaid still. Season 2. Again.
We should just turn into a Handmaid's Tale podcast.
We should, and we'll have Bilal back on.
Yeah,
we just like dress up with like the red coats and the like with the bonnets.
Yep.
Right before we hit record, we're like, ladies, wings.
Just under his eye.
Yeah. Blessed be.
Spoiler alert, there's a part where she escaped and she says under his eye to the guy who helps her escape, and he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
And it's kind of like an eye-opener for her because she's started to assimilate in a way. Like, although she's still pretty separate from what's going on, she's still in that habit already of having to say what she has to say. That like when she's among regular people, it's so odd to her.
Yeah, it's true.
It's crazy. But that's all I got for creepy content. You guys good?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about this drink.
So I went with a super obvious choice. The movie's called Jinn. So we're having a gin and tonic. It's a cranberry gin and tonic. And for Bilal, we have a mocktail. So just do not add gin.
So it's just tonic.
It's cranberry juice, lemon juice, muddled blueberries, and some tonic on top of it. Actually, we're supposed to top our drinks, but I ran out of space. So once you sip it, we can add some on top because that's how it's... Because I had the gin, but not the tonic part. I also chose cranberry because the gin in the film is like a molten fire demon type presented. If you guys want to go ahead and try it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Interesting.
Is this your kind of drink?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, like, I get really excited just when I have any sort of cocktail or, I mean, like, any sort of juice, whatever. Because, like, I was always raised, like, my mom didn't let me drink juice because it's unhealthy, which is kind of sad in lots of different ways. She lets me drink, like, sodas and everything, but not juice.
That's weird.
So that's, I don't know. I mean, so I've, like, cut that out for the most part. But whenever I can drink juice, whenever I get kind of excited. As weird as that sounds.
Oh, man. You should have told us. We're giving you all the juice we have. We don't really drink that much juice, actually.
We don't. We're a LaCroix family. Just because, like, it was the opposite for us. We were not allowed to drink soda, but we could drink all the juice we wanted, which is still sugary. But
the drink was good. It's definitely really fruity and has a really interesting aftertaste, to be honest. I don't know if it's, like, a good aftertaste or a bad aftertaste, but it's just, like, very unique. I don't know how else to explain it.
That might be the tonic because it's, like, really bubbly tasting afterwards.
It's a citrus tonic. Maybe if you guys use a different type of
like
tonic.
Like a regular tonic.
This one has, like, a grapefruit aftertaste, I thought. And I don't really like grapefruit.
I mean, the tonic itself tastes interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
I asked you first.
I'm sipping.
Okay, you're still thinking about it?
Sipping my gin and tonic.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's like your typical martini drink. I think the tonic does help it a little bit, actually. Maybe you guys don't like it.
I added some, and I don't really notice that big a difference from before and after.
It's just more bubbly. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I'd give it a 2.
A 2? Yeah, you hate
it's
sugar.
It's very sweet. I mean, it's not nasty. It's just sweet.
You just hate
What
it.
about you? Mocktail?
Out of 5? I mean, honestly, I'm just happy I have juice. So I'll give a 4.
Yeah, it's our first mocktail of the show. That's exciting.
Maybe we should, at some point, bury them.
Stop drinking.
Alcoholics.
Cool. So give your brief.
A man turns to a mysterious pair and a shackled mental patient for help in combating an ancient family curse.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Again, super short. Who writes these?
Very brief.
Very brief.
Yeah, they're usually either spot on or just super big.
long. Yeah.
Long and then aren't actually saying anything.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I think they could have done a better job, like, enticing it.
Yeah, if I read that, I would not watch this movie.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what's even happening?
All right, well, that being said, maybe Bilal can condense it better in 1 minute.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
So basically, the movie starts out with taking place in early 1900s India, in which a man battles a Jinn, which is a mythological creature in both the Middle East and South Asia. The movie talks about the difference between humans made of clay and jinns made of fire and angels made of light. And it takes back to the present day, in which a man starts experiencing kind of paranormal incidents and seeing different dark objects. Slowly, he starts to be interacting with them, and they end up being really dangerous. His wife disappears at some point when she gets captured by them. And he turns to the help of a priest as well as another individual who's just been guiding him over the years. And basically, throughout the story, he basically finds out how he has the ability to be a guardian and defeat these Jinn. The movie ends basically with the main Jinn, who's been haunting his family for centuries, being killed, and him realizing that he's the guardian, and his son also is potentially a guardian in the future.
Damn, he came in under 2 seconds.
But I managed.
You did? That was good, so good. That was better than any that me and Eric have ever done, so you killed it.
You guys want, I can do some fun facts about Jinn as well.
Yeah.
So again, the reason I picked this movie is because it really is representation of my culture. I'm Muslim, I'm Pakistani, and Jinns are really kind of been something that have been talked about since I was young. It's really, I guess, part of our faith is to believe in them, if anything. So jinns, if I remember correctly from my Arabic days, comes to the word jannah, which means that which is hidden, or that which is not seen. So kind of this idea that jinn are the ones that are kind of held responsible for anything paranormal that happens in the world. That's the main belief in the Middle East, South Asia, North Africa, basically. And as the movie kind of talked about, is that in the Islamic belief that God created humans made of clay, angels made of light, and jinns made of fire. And basically, I believe in Christianity, Lucifer, the devil, is kind of considered as a fallen angel. That's not necessarily the case in Islam, where Lucifer is actually considered a jinn himself. So basically, when God raises Adam to a higher status than him, he gets jealous. And that's what started basically the jinns against humans, because they dislike that humans are raised to a higher status than jinns. So that's kind of the basis of a lot of what the tales of jinn are. There's people who definitely believe in them, and then there's lots of just stories that people bring up. I've heard tons of them growing up, as a way just to scare us. But going places or randomly. Specifically, they're told they were okay, you shouldn't be going out at night, don't go to abandoned places. Especially, we've been told that they like to hang out in really dirty areas, unhygienic areas. So that's why everyone's really big on hygiene. There's a whole prayer you have to say before you go in the bathroom and stuff,
Really?
So yeah, it's stuff like that I think that it's definitely well known about. I want to mention this as well, that I think what I found interesting about the movie is that they really actually took jinns, as opposed to the Western audience. People really know jinns as genies. And people think of it as Robin Williams, Aladdin, singing musical stuff, but that's not really entirely accurate, And there are both good jinns and bad jinns, as they say. The bad jinns are, followers of Satan. They're called shayateen, basically. But yeah, there's definitely the stories that I've heard all about them, possessing people or torturing people or whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what the background of jinns.
That's awesome. Didn't think about the urban legend side of it, right? Is that you said that you were told by your parents, don't do this because the jinn will come on. Whereas other cultures, I guess, will just say it's this other thing and will give those specific things a name versus just saying it's this just negative entity.
We're generally told just stay away from them altogether, But they're
even the good ones?
Even the good ones, just because you don't know their intentions. And apparently, from what we've been told also is they are similar to us, is that they are they have the ability to free will, they get married, they reproduce, they live much longer lives. I should have also mentioned that they're not really corporeal. They're made of what's described as smokeless fire. So that's kind of the concept of them, if anything, that they're kind of everywhere, when you think about it. Even the good jinns are constantly going through your house. As weird as, I guarantee there are probably some here. So hello, jinns.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So the movie actually didn't do terrible at portraying them?
I feel like it did the main, like, I can't be complaining because, again, like, jinns aren't really represented, like, as well, or just, like, I think things in my culture. But I felt like just the overall, like, the way human beings are kind of interacting with them I think was really different. Mainly because I think jinns are really, if you do anything with jinns, it's considered almost black magic, you know, like the way that that's done, any sort of curse, whatever. Like I know like Wicca and stuff like that. Like it's like, there's not all bad, you know what I mean? Voodoo, like it's kind of like, there's a big principle that like, you know, what you do unto others would happen unto you, right? But that's not really the case with black magic. It's basically making a contract with a jinn to do something for you. And from what I've heard, I mean, because we've always been told, like, you'd be damned to hell if you ever try doing anything like that. But it's like the way you get in contact with them is that you need to degrade yourself, basically, in ways. So there's lots of, like, rituals that you need to do. They like to see human beings, like, belittle themselves. Like, I mean, I've only heard things where just, like, you go into, like, you know, a secluded area. Eventually you start hearing things, and then you light certain candles. Then you, like, sometimes they ask you to, like, to pee on yourself and random other things, basically. Like that type of degrading, basically, or hit themselves. So that's how you kind of get in contact with them. And then eventually they do things for you.
I would hate to sound ignorant. It's just that I'd have lots of thoughts around just that whole story, right? Because it's confusing. Even while we were watching the movie, I brought up, like, where are the angels in this? Because the story is that there are good and bad. But then jinns as a whole are seen as holistically bad, although there are. It's like confusing.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if the movie truly captured it all. I think that it was just kind of, I think they should have brought in how angels play in this too, because they're just told angels and nothing really came out.
That's why I thought one of the characters was an angel, because his name is one of the most important in Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, in Islam too, I mean, I don't know why they call him Gabriel. That kind of like came us all, I mean, we call him Jibril, same thing. But I'm like, that kind of threw everyone off. I feel like, is this an angel? But it turns out he's a jinn himself, but like a good jinn.
Twist, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Twist, maybe.
For someone who knows the lore,
Yeah. So do we get into the movie?
Yeah, we do. This is exciting. I'm glad that you have that background.
Yeah, because I guess watching it when you don't know about it, you just kind of think like, this is a little bit of a cheesy storyline.
Yeah.
It's
like
obvious.
It definitely is. Not gonna lie, it's definitely a really cheesy storyline.
There are some things though that are obviously probably incorrect. Like when we started to bring up how Christianity was brought into the light and very heavily emphasized, like they needed the help of Christians to, and at the end you see there's also Jewish themes, but that this movie couldn't exist without having Christianity in it. Did you feel that? I mean, I feel like, because I mean, jinns are definitely, if you go into like the Middle East, there's definitely like Christian Arabs and Jewish Arabs who believe in that too. But the problem that I had is like the way they dealt with the jinns in the story, like the way you're supposed to like, you know, get rid of them or fight them, all comes from like Islamic roots. Like the prayer that they say, like, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, meaning I seek refuge with God from Satan, whatever. That's an Islamic phrase. You know what I mean? We say that all the time. And like the entire movie, they never really go and talk to anyone who's actually Muslim or whatever. They just start hanging with the priest. I'm like, how does the priest know all this? You know what I mean?
It's true. You're like, you said, oh, finally they go to one religious temple and it's not Christian.
No, and it's glazed over.
It's really glazed
It's like,
over.
we need to go get holy water from Mecca.
Yeah.
And that's when you see the
mosque.
Sorry, the mosque, yes. And that's the only time you ever see anything else that's not Christian.
Yeah, and I think it's just strange because, I mean, if the movie was trying to portray like how different religions all have to do with like, I definitely think like all like paranormal has like a common in all faiths, religions. But like if they showed that kind of perspective, that like each individual faith is like exorcising the demon their own way, but they kind of just all stole from one source and then didn't really implement it throughout. But I definitely, I mean, my personal opinion, I feel like it was kind of whitewashed in the reality of things.
We talked about this when we did the La Llorona episode. It was the same deal.
Although the director is maybe of the descent that would apply to this story. La Llorona was, I believe, a Mexican or Hispanic, Latino, whatever it was, director. So you think, oh, it's probably going to be okay, right, to some extent. And so then this director, Ajmal Zaheer Ahmad, right, you think like, okay, he probably knows the story here, right? But then you think that there are probably also outside forces that make that
exactly. I think definitely like, because you can tell like the pieces of stuff is there. You know what I mean? Like if they went into research knowing these prayers and stuff like that, and like Zamzam water and stuff like that, like they know their stuff, but it's like the way they implemented it. It was like, I guess maybe just has to do with Hollywood whitewashing and stuff like that, that you need to have some exterior, you know, Western presence in the way to tell a story. But
I think they feel like it will not sell if there is no like Western presence in the movie.
Which I feel like ruins it. On the La Llorona episode, we were talking about how the movie takes place with a white family in focus, and it takes place in America. And
like,
it's
why would that happen?
The husband whose dad is Hispanic, so it's like, okay, the kids are Hispanic.
But he's dead.
But he's dead. And we were saying how much better it would have been if this movie took place in Mexico. But Hollywood affects it. The people who are like, no, that's not going to sell, changed everything. And so you don't get the full length of what could possibly be a great story.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that is changing, though. I think people are getting tired of seeing the
same
same
tropes.
actors,
Yeah.
the same type of stories told. So I don't know, maybe a couple years down the road we'll get better versions of those two movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, for example, when you think of, this is not really horror, but like you think of the movie like Black Panther, like that was a huge success because it spoke to a lot of African individuals, African American individuals, and I think that had an entirely Black cast. So I think things like that are going to be really pushing Hollywood as well, that people want to see content like that are culturally enriched. And I think they think that by, I guess, changing up the storyline, it's going to get them more profit, but their bigger appeal, who they're appealing to, I think has changed overall. And I think they're slowly realizing that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's dive in.
So I think, I mean, like overall, I think the movie was pretty decent. I think the script was kind of strange. Not gonna lie, it was just kind of all over the place. I was surprised at first when the movie started because like he was speaking in Urdu, which is my language, so I could understand stuff. But then the Jinn started like speaking in English afterwards. Like he just switched over, and I was like,
very
huh?
exaggerated English.
Yeah,
too.
I was just like, huh? Like the dude can't even understand you.
That's true. How would he know what you're saying? Like,
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about how much scarier would it be for that man to see this Jinn, and you're thinking it's going to talk to him in his language, or you said it's Urdu, and he speaks in English, so it's also foreign to him, and he's like, what's it saying?
and then he's like, a white man, no.
I mean, they had captions too. Wouldn't they just carry that out? I feel like that would keep it. I don't know what they're thinking.
Weird choice. I didn't even notice that.
Before we get introduced to this hero, it seems like the actor was the same one, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he was just playing
through
his
flashbacks.
ancestor.
It kind of looked like his face just
Yeah.
had facial hair and then no facial hair. They're like different characters.
They won't be able to tell the difference.
No, but we do get the legend. You know, the angels are light, the man is made of clay, fire is jinns, and
If you feel we are mentioning it a lot, it is because it is brought up like every 20 minutes in this movie.
It is.
And it's like we get it. We heard it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought that the angels were
gonna
this,
come
Yeah,
into play.
I thought so too. I mean, I feel like if you're gonna, instead of like focusing so much on that, I'm like, you could have done so much more in regards to like, why do like jinns hate humans so much? Why didn't you explore that? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like they're just really angry people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think they're just they had a potential to, I guess, really show the human interaction as opposed to like the complexity of that. Even like black magic type stuff, like I was saying earlier, like, you know, how people still connect with jinns and do these things, and good jinns too. It's not just some random jinn who, there was basically in the movie Gabriel, basically, who was a protector basically of him, who just kind of come through. Like, that's just kind of strange. It's like he was almost like a guardian angel, but he was an angel.
Yeah.
They could have just made him an angel. I don't know what you would have did
They
that.
could have. I'm thinking that what if they had said, what if we make it like this, where the angels also have some heavy involvement, but then it's going to be an angel and jinn movie instead,
Yeah.
and that would be too close to angels and
Yeah.
demons. Wasn't that a movie too?
I think so.
So
But
they're like, it's just going to be like angels and jinns, which maybe would have been cool too, but
Yeah.
I guess they're like, well, the movie's about jinns, let's not focus so much on angels. Right?
Yeah. But we get that opening sequence where they are battling, even though they're speaking different languages, they understand each other. We find out that this man is kind of putting religious relics around him, trying to trap the jinn. It seems like he was sent to save a little girl who was stolen by the jinn. That never comes into play later.
I was really confused by that too. I was like, did he, because he said like it seemed like she had died already and he just taken the body or something, but he's like, give us back the girl, but she's already dead. And I was just like, what?
Yeah. It would make sense if he was trying to save her soul, but I don't think that's ever said.
He said the soul has left. So it was like, okay, then what is he saving?
Was it like possession or something? Because that would make sense. You know what I mean? But
yeah, a lot of stuff was confusing. That's why I was interested in seeing what your takes were, because I was like, I'm confused, but it could just be because I don't know.
You don't know the legend.
Yeah.
This movie's already going in thinking the audience knows the legend.
Yeah.
But then why whitewash it?
Exactly.
Because then they're not going to know.
So he's got a vial of liquid. I thought it was cool that he had those relics or whatever it was that he threw around. But the Jinn, let's describe the Jinn, right? The Jinn is just, it looks like a man crouched or kind of sitting with his legs folded in the center of a room where it's completely dark and the light is shining over
Very
over
blue
him with
tones.
his long hair.
He looks kind of thin. Looks like Gollum almost.
yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Which I think Gollum are in Jewish folklore men made of clay.
Yeah.
So that might have been on purpose. I don't know.
They definitely didn't have much Jewish influence in this as well. But
There was like a couple hints at the end.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, I think they did a pretty decent job making them kind of look kind of scary. I think throughout the movie, like, the hard thing for me is, like, in the beginning, they showed the Jinn as, like, that one guy, you know what I mean, who's, like, you know, has, like, really drenched in, like, darkness and kind of, like, has really long hair and kind of nasty looking. But then when you see Jinns in the rest of the movie, they're, like, presented as, like, made fiery creatures, whatever, and they don't really connect that. So you're just like, are these two different things? But yeah, I mean, I think they did a pretty decent job. They kind of made them look like Dementors at some point, and I was just like,
a little bit.
I was like,
a
huh?
fiery
They
mentor.
did. Maybe the thought is that they can make their form change.
Yeah, I mean, that's
to fit
definitely
in.
part of the lore as well. Like, there's known to be shape-shifting, whatever. I was going to say, I forgot that generally there's 3 types of Jinn. There's Jinn that fly, and then there's Jinns that, like, just walk around just like us. And generally they like to stay in, like, bad Jinns like to stay in, like, unclean places. And the last Jinns are ones that transform into animals. And they transform it into black dogs a lot, too. So.
Oh, good. Loki's a Jinn.
That would explain a lot, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would explain my table.
Yeah. With this battle, we get the backstory that this Jinn has cursed this man's family. He's saying, I will hunt down your children and your children's children
For
till the end of
generations
time.
and generations and generations.
And the battle kind of ends with no conclusion. The holy water is thrown to the side, and it kind of ends with them just like running at each other.
Yeah, with a knife or whatever that sword is.
It gets reused again later.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to say that he is reincarnated or something like that.
Yeah. This is basically just setting up the...
I mean, that's the vibe I got. You made a face, but it's
no,
like...
I'm just like, it's weird because like reincarnation is not a concept in Islam at all. So it's like,
What
I don't
was
know.
their
I just like, what is their intent? What are they trying to do here? I just feel like overall, like the way they dealt with jinns, it was just so like, there's like, I know so many different ways that people have told me like, oh, this is how you protect yourself against jinns and stuff. But like, they only focus on like one verse. That's it. And then the holy water. I mean, that's not really even a thing, to be honest.
I was going to
So we
say...
talked
It's just like,
about-
I would just like, this is like kind of, I mean, that's just like really good drinking water. Yeah, you mean, like it's good. Like it's definitely like holy in that sense, but it's not like no one uses that for that purpose.
That holy water thing was very Catholic.
Yeah, like why couldn't they just use that then? You know, at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was weird to me. They used the holy water a lot.
That's the whole reason he goes and shows the mosque. Remember, is he goes to Mecca to get holy water, and ends up being how they kill
They're
it.
like, this
just
is
like
the
La
only
Llorona.
way we could tie it in.
They kill it just like in La Llorona.
Let's get
Okay?
to that because I got opinions about
But
that.
we were talking about on that episode as well that they do the bare, like, aside from, it sounds like you said it's like accurate to an extent, right? But they do like the bare minimum research and are like, how do we change it to make it like digestible by the viewer? But it still wasn't digestible even with what they changed.
It's like also jinns aren't like corporeal to the point that like they like you can grapple with them and you're wrestling and
they're literally wrestling.
I'm just like, what is this? And like at the end, like towards the end of the movie, this guy is literally like having a full on fight with him and like, you know, because he has his guardian powers. I mean, we'll get to that later, but like literally like knifing him, and I'm just like, what is this? like jinns don't care that much.
They're not that involved.
Exactly.
Yeah, they really liked the martial arts in this movie.
So much tackling.
But it is modern day. We get introduced to this family.
At the beginning, opening shot, we get a very lingering shot of the water fountain that comes into play later. We do, because I saw that. I was like, that's going to come into play for something later. It's a very long, lingering shot. And then you see the family.
It just implies that they were like, remember that fountain?
Remember it. It's going to be important. Yeah. Basically, it's foreshadowing.
It's the worst.
Yeah. We find out that it is Sean and Jasmine who live there. It is Sean's birthday, and he is delivered a gift.
Box that has a VHS in it, and it says "Happy Birthday, Sean." And immediately after this, there was like no real transition, but they look out the window and there's that cardboard cutout across the street. Did you feel like there was any good transition there? It was like,
no,
look, here's this gift.
weird.
No.
Well, look at what's in that window over there.
The transition in these movies is ridiculous.
Both in like cutting, like directing, and also just the script writing itself.
Yeah, and this is one of them where they're like, "Oh, hey, notice that creepy cardboard?" And the wife's like, "It's been standing there like that for 2 days." Oh, the cardboard is creepy. Like, you know, if you don't really want to call this movie horror, I thought if I saw that out of my window, just someone standing there like
It's
with
like
their
with
hand
the hand up waving
I'd
high.
be like, even if it was a cardboard, I would be like, the neighbors are creeps.
Why are they doing
The neighbors are socializing with us. Oh my god.
Oh no! We have to move.
When I grew up, there was a front neighbor who had foil on all his windows and doors. All of them. Like, we never really saw him. The only time we would see him was when he would cut his grass.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to help his neighbor. I was like an old man. I used to help him out, and he would tell me all these weird stories. He's like, we were like one of the first few people who lived in these houses. He used to invite me for all kinds of weird shit. Like, he wanted me to build a plane with him in his basement. To leave the U.S. He's a freaking weirdo.
That guy was a predator, sir. He was trying to get you into your basement.
Yeah, he's still there, but he's like he's nice to my
He's
mom.
listening to this right now, just like
He's listening to this podcast like they're on to me.
Yeah.
They know too much.
He doesn't listen when we post them. He listens as we record them because he's hacked into my laptop.
It's time to
anyways.
Don't hurt Us.
How did we get on this topic?
The weird neighbors.
The
with the
weird
cardboard-
neighbors with the
cutout.
cardboard.
I think they just said that he's like a printer dude, right? That the guy who lives there is just the guy who cuts and does that for work or something.
How convenient.
Yeah.
Way to like patch up that plot hole. We have Sean having a nightmare, it seems like, of his wife being dragged into hell.
Yeah.
Like she's on fire.
It's a reoccurring dream too, where he just keeps dreaming fire. But then it ends up having something to do with his upbringing. But we also get introduced to this man in jail. He's writing onto
Symbols?
some sort of he's writing symbols,
Yeah.
but he's also writing on some sort of map. It seems.
Yeah, I couldn't like get a close look at it. I was like, is this Arabic? You know, is he like writing like verses or whatever? But I mean, it just wasn't. It wasn't really apparent. If anything, they just kind of, I guess they were trying to portray him as just like a crazy dude. Maybe that worked at least for that portion because they haven't gotten too much into the lore, so it's just like, oh yeah, he's this creepy dude.
Yeah,
Insane.
He's chained to a piece, or
Which
like
I
some sort of
don't
pillar in
think
the
they
center.
do to anyone in mental asylum.
He has a very giant room,
Yes.
but he's
chained
to the center.
of the ground. Like they don't do that.
No.
I hope they don't do
They
that.
do it in Handmaid still.
Good. There you
They
go.
said that they put him in there because he was spooking other people out or whatever. I'm just like,
and that's why
really?
they changed.
That
They're
guy's,
chained.
that guy's religious. He's scary. We need to put him somewhere else.
He's bald. Get him away from everyone else.
Yeah, but then in a quick incident, Gabriel, which were introduced as his name, appears to him, and it's clarified that they sent the gift to Sean, and that he's got a friend on his side or something like that.
A couple friends. We pan back to Sean and Jasmine, who he calls her Jazz, and they're having this very like vague conversation. It's very like you could put anything into this conversation and it would work. I got a promotion at the job, at the factory. Like you could say anything, but he gets a promotion, and then he takes this as the time to say, we talked about having a family last week, and I think it's time now with this promotion, it's time to start having kids.
No, he says, I think it's time we do the thing.
We finally have sex, because we haven't for years. Very vague.
But it turns out she can't have kids.
Yeah, she is visibly very emotional about not being able to have children.
And this man is so angry, he leaves.
I get her being emotional, but like, wouldn't you tell someone
Yeah.
that before you get married?
Exactly.
I don't know, would you? Because
Yes.
it could be something that you're embarrassed about. Like,
Yeah.
it could
But
be
like,
something-
I think like perhaps I think the thing is that like they dated and then they got married afterwards too. I think that's like the bigger thing. Like, I mean, during the dating phase maybe, but like to make a commitment to someone and then not tell them that, I think that's.
I mean, really, he stormed off angrily because he's like counting how much money he's wasted on condoms for however long.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
We've been using condoms the whole time. That's what I was mad about.
What were you even on birth control for?
No. This whole storyline with her is weird because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of insensitive to people who really can't have children because she magically ends up pregnant later on. So it's like an attempt at giving her some debt, but not really.
Because she's off screen for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. It's a weird storyline.
It's another thing of progressing the male story.
Lineage.
Yeah.
But progressing the male story to say, it's to just give Sean that moment of shock of, but she said she can't have babies. And they're like,
But
she
she's
is.
already pregnant.
The Holy Spirit has impregnated her.
Basically. We find out that, again, these jump cuts do not make sense.
No.
Because he's in the car and you're like, okay, he left because he's upset. No, he went to go view the tape at work. On the VHS, we find out that it is...
I was wondering where he went. I thought he just went somewhere random as fuck to watch this video.
broken.
I was like, where did he even
Popped
go?
into VHS.
He had to look on the internet to find out where the nearest VCR is.
VCR near me. He watches the video and finds out it is a video of his dad. In the video, he says, if you're seeing this, I haven't been in contact with you. I failed you. Know that everything I did was for you and your mother. And this is actually you in the background. So happy birthday.
And also on your death.
Luke, I am your father kind of thing.
This scene happens in too many movies, I think.
Yeah.
They need to figure out a better way to do this. It's like, and if you're watching this, I'm probably dead.
I'm already dead.
Yeah, how many times have we seen that?
That's
Not,
Yeah.
you know,
a lot of
1,500
movies.
times.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, like, also they show that he's, like, been adopted later on, too, which I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. But, I mean,
Because what
obviously...
happened to his mom?
Yeah, I mean, I think she got killed or something, maybe, in, like, whatever...
She was the girl in the beginning.
Yeah, maybe that's it, basically, but...
I don't know.
I think that was. Basically, he was getting flashbacks in the beginning, like, during his dreams, basically. But we find out later that it could be... I mean, we're hypothesizing that was his mom, who was also killed during the whole fight with the Jinns.
Are we supposed to understand, too, that not much has happened since the flashback and today? Because I think the uncle's like, I was also the son of... Billy. I didn't write down his
Jahangir,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is that character in the beginning. So
Yeah.
it means that there was only like 2-3 generations between
Yeah.
that flashback and the current.
Yeah,
timeline.
because it was, I think, in like 1901 or something.
Yeah, he's
So
just great
that
grandpa.
would be like 3 generations, I think.
So the mom,
depending on how young you have kids.
Yeah, so the mom maybe wouldn't have too much to do with anything. We're skipping ahead, but it's revealed that the parents who adopted him are white.
Yeah.
And we only saw one at first, and I was like, okay, maybe the dad's gonna be like, he married a white lady too or something. And they're just both
I was like,
white.
I mean, this is why they're explaining maybe like, oh, that's why he doesn't know things. I'm like, no. Was it really that hard to not give him brown parents?
His adoptive parents could have also been brown.
Well, and they said that they knew his dad.
Yeah. And I always thought, I mean, this is probably kind of insensitive of me to say, but like, I have yet to meet a brown person named Sean. I'm sorry. I mean, and I think we were watching this movie with Yessie, which is Vivi's sister, and she pointed out that like in one of the documents they showed, his name is spelled like Shan, Sean. So I think like that's a name. So I'm like wondering if his name was Sean, and then just because he got adopted by white people, he's called Sean. I mean, that's like, if my name's Bilal, it's like I'd go by Bill.
I mean, by the same logic, I thought that the reason they named his wife Jasmine was to be like, Jasmine's the name of Jasmine and Aladdin. I'm serious. I'm serious.
Now
do you think about that? Definitely, yeah.
She's white, but let's also make her Jasmine. Yeah.
Yes, but he views the video and it essentially tells him that he is experiencing paranormal things. Things will only get stranger from here, and that it is his kind of like familial duty to fight against these. The father doesn't say Jinn exactly, but that's where he's going with this. Like, you will face this thing that's about to happen. The video also warns him that he has friends that will help him. They're the ones that sent him the video. He gets in the car from having watched this video, and in the back seat, he kind of like materializes. This effect was actually pretty cool. It wasn't bad. He materializes and like whispers his wife's name, and then
let's point out that the face looks like it's like burning coal.
It's like it's like molten lava.
If they carried that out, that would be so great.
Yeah, but then it gets weirder.
At that moment, I thought the movie might be good because this was already like 20 minutes into the movie, and I was like, okay, maybe it is going to be pretty scary, and they're going to do something right with this.
Yeah, they did a couple jump scares and stuff.
But once they brought in this like superhero story, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I wish they didn't do that, to be honest. I wish it was just more like, okay, we have to deal with them, and like we're just normal individuals because that's what everyone does, you know? And I mean, I think like the animation overall, it was good. Like compared to a lot of other horror films and stuff like that. I mean, this is not really horror, but like compared to a lot of things, it's pretty decent. But I think the script really just undermines
the writing was pretty lazy. In the car, him being freaked out, we also get like a slam on the car window, and then he races home because he's afraid. And he's looking for his wife. He finds the house in disarray a bit.
There's the paper fluttering, and this is an effect that happens throughout the rest of the movie, that when jinns were present, there's pages that are kind of floating around.
Is that a thing?
I mean...
Did you notice that every time?
Yeah, I mean, that I noticed in the movie, but I mean, I guess jinns are known to like be kind of like, I guess, like a nuisance, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, like things move around. Again, like they're basically the explanation for anything paranormal. So if everyone's like, oh my gosh, I left this here, now it's there. Jinn. I mean, people are a lot paranoid like that in my culture a lot too. It's just like you see like, you know, footsteps upstairs, it must be a jinn. And I mean, again, like that's stories of this.
Latinos are the same way.
I think again, everyone has a cultural thing like
everyone
that.
has like a cultural thing that's like, this is the reason things are scary.
Well, that's what I was saying, that I think it's interesting that they say that they just blame jinns and we have to give them a name for some reason. It's all just be negative entities that all fit one
across cultures.
Yeah.
It's our bad fucking attitude.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's interesting just to see those small little things as well. Because, like, again, look, I've heard so many stories like this growing up, you know, and like I've had like 1 or 2 paranormal incidents happen to me as well. And I remember also my grandma. So she has dementia. So like I was like talking to her a while back just to like I'm trying to like get more of her past and everything so it can be recorded. And she was telling me that my great grandpa, he was an exorcist actually. He like, you know, used to like go and deal with a lot of these cases, you know what I mean, where people were possessed. But there are other people in the family who think that it's the opposite. He actually did black magic and he actually worked with jinns. And then there's lots of other random stories in my family too. Like apparently one of my great aunts, she had like 3 brothers and they all were strangled to death by jinns and stuff like that. But yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like small things that are like, it's interesting. I guess I wish that type of thing would be brought more into the movie, but just the fact that it's kind of put, you know, at least put into a script somehow, I think it's nice.
Even if it was some sort of like Chronicles of Jinn story.
Yeah.
Like if we saw like
an anthology.
Yeah, like the haunted ones. Like I'm sure they have like Netflix, whatever, and they just like have people talking about their experiences.
Yeah.
But So yeah, he gets home and the house is like in disarray, and he's like, Jasmine.
He thinks like normal people broke in, not paranormal.
As the
entities.
police said,
Yeah.
drunk brat boys.
Exactly.
I got triggered. I was like,
Yes. As the police are saying that, Jasmine walks in totally fine.
She's like, I went for a walk. Just blowing off some steam. After the cops leave, she's like, I'm gonna let you go because I don't want my inability to have kids affect you in your life, and you want kids. And he's like, no, I'll never let you go.
Yeah, and this is kind of to cement how important she is to him, and later on when she gets kidnapped, kind of advance the story. It is, I believe, that same night where the paranormal starts to ramp up a bit.
The cardboard starts to move.
The cardboard moves. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I would be like, fuck this. And stuff starts flying around the house, right?
No,
I think
he picks up the phone and immediately they're in the car in the next
But
scene.
no,
There's no
his
like
furniture
cut.
got overturned again.
They like put everything away, and then they fell asleep, and then when he woke up in the middle of the night again, everything's all disarray again, and then they see the cardboard and they're like, let's get out. But then like Eric said, like now they're on a phone call because
Next
someone
scene.
In the car.
in the car, and it's like Gabriel calling him, just like, come here to this church.
Yeah, this has just happened in your house, and a strange man you don't know has called you and is like, go to church. And
He's
you're
like,
like,
yes,
no,
immediately.
you're gonna murder me there.
I mean, to be honest,
true.
if I had like a random number calling me, I'm not gonna pick it up.
First of all, I don't answer my phone.
Like text me.
Text. Oh, I got a text saying we got to go to the
Send me a
church.
Snapchat, bro.
I don't even think Snapchat's relevant anymore.
Is it? I don't have Snapchat.
No, people
It's
don't
not relevant
use
to me.
it. I don't think so.
Somebody was talking about Snapchat today. You and Yessie.
Yo, because they had your birth chart on there. That's how they're trying to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he listens to this phone call and goes to this church.
He's like, yes, sir, I will immediately. Gabriel's like, hey, it's me. I'm Gabriel. I'm the guy who's been watching you all your life. You're safe here, though.
And it's weird because it's just like they never show him anywhere else. Even when he's a kid, they don't show him it would be cool if they had some sort of connection of like back then in 1900s or whatever. Like, why is this guy, this Jinn, like involved?
What would have been a great opportunity that in the flashbacks that he has later as a kid where he's watching the fire and he's like, his dad is telling him to like leave the fire and to stay outside. And there's so many flashbacks of his dad being the one who takes him outside.
Yeah.
It should have been Gabriel.
To tie him in a little better.
I've watched you all your life. I've protected you.
Except
Obviously
that
not.
one time.
Yeah.
And then we get the explanation again of the legend.
Did you notice that he said that there's the story of 3 and then they mentioned there's the story of 4? What was the 4th one?
Basically, what he was trying to say is like the bad Jinn are called shayateen, which are basically like the people who listen to Satan, whatever. So they're the ones who do bad. They're the ones who make people do black magic with and everything. Those are the ones you got to be worried about.
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to get at. But we also get that classic hero does not believe the paranormal is happening scene.
And
where
laughs at their face.
They laugh at it even though they've just experienced some shit.
They also explained that this was odd. He's like, ghosts, demons, poltergeists, none of that exists. But I thought like jinns were the equivalent to demons. If we want to like touch on that these Christians are helping this man with this Muslim creature, wouldn't they be like demons are our version of jinns?
Exactly. I thought, why don't you just do that? You know what I mean?
It's true.
And I guess their whole, when they really goes into the priest there, when he goes to the church, whatever, is kind of telling him about, all these things you have to do and giving him that sword thingy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just why couldn't you just show your Christian prayers? Because when you go in different movies like The Conjuring and other, when you had the priest come in with a cross, whatever, why don't you just do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same concept, if you're really trying to show this unification of 3 different faiths, which was that's the title.
There's tons of parallels.
Yeah,
tons of parallels across the religions. Why not just say, to you it's this, and to us it's that.
Exactly.
And, we're fighting the same battle, but this time it's affecting you.
But this kind of weird scene, he gives him a sword, and then he also says, ask the walkers about me. And this is where we find out that he has been adopted by white parents. And he's like, this priest said to ask you what is happening. And he's like, oh yeah, he's the priest that basically set up your adoption. He told us to never take off your necklace, which is, I don't think, really explored.
I wish they told a little bit more about what that necklace is, because I've heard of things like that, like talisman type things. I feel all cultures have that, some sort of holy verse, but
essentially, I guess a cross.
Yeah.
But
does it really save him at all at any point?
No, it doesn't do anything.
There's that scene where he's gonna do the chilla and he takes it off. Mm-hmm. I thought they said never to take it off. The priest said under no circumstances, showers, baths,
take it off.
Take it off. Jasmine goes outside with Sean and they're like, what the hell is happening?
She's trying to convince them to run away, but I don't think anything that bad has happened yet for her to be freaking out this much. She's ready to run across the country.
She's more frantic about this than when they left the house earlier.
Yeah. At this scene where she's freaking out, she gets yanked into the forest.
We are introduced to the Jinn. Sean starts to get pulled by a sewer. It's like a black cloud. He grabs the sewer edge, and then in the distance, as the smoke disappears, the Jinn is upside down and crawling inside
Exorcist style, kind of crawling. I didn't think the smoke effect was that cool. It was like kind of like early 2000s.
Like the Mentor stuff again.
Yeah, like it went on for too long. Like maybe if you saw it for like a minute, it would have been okay. But it, like they had it going for too long. But yeah, I think the creepy like crawling upside down thing could make this film like a horror movie.
Yeah,
like, that's a very horror movie.
He also gets
trope.
yanked through the forest by something that seems to be grabbing him by the throat. So it was like Jinns were invisible.
Yeah, exactly. That goes into the main concept what Jinns are. So I like that. If anything, it was very like all the stories that I heard growing up. It's like that. You know what I mean? Where you're being flung around by something you can't see. You know.
So he gets pulled up to this tree, being hung. He's choking, and this is the part that I thought was cool. That the Jinn comes from the distance in the darkness, and then just gets raised up by this black cloud stuff that's been around them.
Which
and
you
can
notice?
see its true face, right? It's molten, and it starts to talk to him.
I don't know if you noticed, this happens a lot in this movie where people get raised or elevated. And I feel like they spent their entire stunt double budget on just levitating people. This happens a lot in this movie.
That's true, but the Jinns, I mean, just levitate the entire time, so maybe that's why. They were like, well, we have all this rope hanging around.
Let's make everyone levitate.
The Jinn is talking to him and is like, I'm here for you. I've been following you your whole life. And this guy, he uses the knife out of nowhere and slashes its face, and it drops him from like 30, 40 feet up. Next scene is Gabriel and the priest walking through the church and saying like, nah, he's got to believe us. We need him on our side.
He just magically appears in the church afterwards.
He does.
They don't really go into him like grieving. Like, I mean, they kind of just show like, oh yeah, he's sad about his wife and everything, but like they don't make him look for her or anything like that either. I'm just like,
the cuts are weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Is this the scene where he gets like the background of his family?
Yeah, he's talking to the priest and he's like, I thought you said that they'd fear me. And they're like, well, they didn't. And Sean continues to have that dream of the house that's on fire. It's kind of clarified that all his life he's been protected by not only his dad, who went through the same thing, but he has been protected because he has this purpose. So I kind of felt like that was weird, because is it to imply that he's the one? Was he supposed to be the special one of all of them in the generations that would be the one who saves them from the Jinns?
Yeah,
or was it just to continue that forever?
In case we didn't make that clear, his family's being singled out by the Jinn because they're supposed to possess some sort of power to defeat Jinns. And they don't know which male in the family,
lineage
lineage it would be. So they just kill them all.
Right. That's why I thought it was odd that they were trying to protect his wife and the baby. Because they were like, is the baby important then, or is he?
Yeah.
Right. Which we can talk about at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. They go to the asylum, which is where the guy from earlier we had seen with the chain.
We find out it is actually his uncle.
Through flashbacks, the uncle grabs his head and sends him flying through what had happened in the beginning, his upbringing, some other side stuff that had to do with him and his brother, right? And then he's like, you've got to be the one who saves us.
A lot of pressure.
It didn't really make much sense because he was just like, you know, I wasn't able to, like, I mean, later on we get more into this, but it's just like, he was like, yeah, I couldn't fight them off and that's why I'm here and everything. But then later on, he's just like completely fine. He just like, my chilla is completed. But I'll get into the chilla stuff later, but.
He also shows him that Jazz is pregnant.
When she was taken.
He's like, you didn't hear it? There was a heartbeat. And he's like,
no, you wouldn't hear that.
I love he's like, you're gonna have a son. I'm just like,
yeah, I love
like,
that too. He's like, it's a son. Like, this family only has boys. That is toxic masculinity.
It is, damn. I didn't even think of that, because later we're like, it's a girl.
Yeah, no, the whole, I would said that as a joke because they like stress about how it's like the male lineage.
Yeah. Even if it was a girl, who fucking cares?
She could probably kick their asses faster than they did.
Yeah. So he's like, but she says she can. He's like, well, she lied, okay? She lied.
Fucking lied, no.
Fucking lied to you.
It's
also,
more
the
like...
baby is mine, because I'm a Jinn.
No, we get the vibe that because their lineage is so important, it performed miracles and she was able to get pregnant.
Oh, yeah. Is that the point?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, again, if it was the Gabriel concept, if he was an angel, that would make sense.
Actually, that does make more sense. Immaculate.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why I said that Gabriel's the one who impregnated her. Because he's been there all his life. He's like, I've been there all your life, even with your wife.
That baby does not look like two white people.
So he's like, she has your kid, you must pass the chilla. And so, what is the chilla?
So, chilla comes from the word jalis, which means 40. And so from what I've always been told is basically like back in the day when like really spiritual people, they'd go away for 40 days basically and they'd isolate themselves. Basically like similar to like how Buddhist monks kind of do that. Like they like, isolate themselves from like, other human beings, whatever, and they just kind of become one with themselves. It's like the same concept basically, like being one with God. And I guess that's what they were trying to portray is like through the chilla, you're dealing with all your fears and like, all your outside connections. I thought it was kind of weird that they still use that and it's just like some, creepy, I don't know, it was just like a weird mind thing, like, that they have to do. It just really didn't make much sense, but I mean...
Didn't align with what it was supposed to be.
No, because they portray it as a test, like a mental test that you have to pass.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they made sense of that because, like, what I've always been taught is, like, if you don't fear them, if you, like, have, like, a very solid faith, they can't do anything to you. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if they reinforce that, like, you need to make yourself strong as an individual, like, overcome these tests of fear, whatever, in order to get to that level, that would make sense, but it just kind of just, like...
Yeah, and maybe that was their point, but like it did not come across that way.
He keeps repeating to him, you need to pass the chilla, pass the test. And he's like angrily saying like he needs to pass the test. He also explains that he's been the one who's been stopping the Jinn from fighting him, which is like how? I thought that's what Gabriel's whole life was for.
I think both of them together have been, because since he didn't pass his test, he has like some kind of weird connection to them where he can see them often and all the time, which is like the next scene where Sean is kind of trying to process everything his uncles just told him, and then we get this like creepy old man who starts clapping, like a slow clap. They all start clapping, and the uncle freaks out and is like, "They're here! Run, run, run!"
And Gabriel commences to just kick everyone's
ass. This is the funniest scene in this entire movie because he is way too intense.
It's like a guy, just like what do they call the orderly? The orderly just literally walks out of one of the rooms and just drop kicks him in the face.
And it's like everybody.
He didn't even have to be possessed yet.
Yeah, just random people sitting around playing checkers
who are not possessed, and he's drop kicking everybody.
Or Nana.
Yeah.
He grabs that one girl and like throws her off the balcony. He was like, I thought he was just knocking them out. I didn't realize he was trying to kill everybody.
He's like intense.
And then he like drops down in Avengers.
He does superhero style because this film could not decide what it wanted to be.
This whole next sequence is just ridiculous.
This is ridiculous.
They blew the entire budget on this piece, other than the Jinns. They go run outside, and he's like, "Run to the car, I'll save you," because the people run out like zombies. And so Gabriel's eyes start to glow. He's like
very blue.
Completely blue eyes, and he goes into this like mystic world kind of, because it's like stars and clouds and things like that are surrounding him.
Yeah, I was like, he got his Byakugan. It looked so different, it was weird. And it was like the time slow down, like a flash type sequence.
Yeah.
And him just making really excessive movements to cut down.
Knife.
Yeah.
He was swinging that knife. He didn't cut anybody.
Yeah, that was
he would punch him in the chest.
That's the weird part. I was just like, what's the knife for then?
Even for?
Well, I think he was cutting the Jinn spirits, right? Is that what we're supposed to learn?
I think so.
Maybe? I don't know.
Because when he would palm the people, he was honestly doing the Byakugan. He's doing 64 palms.
Yeah, he was.
With his palm
strike.
And he would hit them with his palm, it would spark, and it was like a cloud would come out from behind them, and that's when he would wave the knife. Something, maybe he was cutting the clouds, but like, does that even make sense? You're cutting clouds.
And they chose the weirdest song to do this too, because it was like a romantic ballet song.
It was like the music that you see when they're like, adopt these dogs because no one else wants
them. It was like, I don't know if it's that one or right afterwards. Basically after he like, gets done, whatever. He ends up basically getting like killed by a bunch of the other Jinns, whatever.
After he Mjolnirs the keys to Sean.
Yeah, because he has to take them because Sean is fucking useless, and he runs to the car and he's like, I don't have the keys! This dude's literally battling demons, and then he has to stop to Jedi mind trick them back to his
from inside the asylum, from the keyring, and it just smashes through everything.
Yes, and because of that, it distracts him long enough where the Jinn start eating him like zombies. There's like 10 movie references in this one scene.
And I was like, you were just beating them all like nothing, and then all of a sudden they're piling up on you, and then random like Pakistani Bollywood music starts playing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? They're really trying to throw in the culture now.
The weirdest scene in this movie.
On the non-Muslim character.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
But basically understood that Gabriel's a Jinn. Were you the one who told me that?
No, the priest says it.
The priest says that later.
Oh, because he's after he goes. So Gabriel dies.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Goes to the priest and he's like, Gabriel's dead. He's like, nah, he was a Jinn. And
He's fine.
he's like, basically the whole focus on these next few scenes are like Rocky, where he has to like train. And figure out how he's going to get through his chilla. And
they get the holy water.
Yeah, they go to Mecca because they're like, they can only be
the mosque, basically.
Yeah. They're like, your chilla has to be in a place where you can. Oh, okay. This makes more sense. I think his work was with a car manufacturer, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes to the car factory. That makes more sense, actually. You do your chilla in a place that makes you feel most tranquil. I was like, you went to work? Motherfucker?
That was the worst place you could go.
Yeah.
You really hate your family. Home would be where you would go, no? I mean, I don't know. He went to this factory. It's like abandoned.
Or even like the places like family burned down or something. I don't know. Some sort of significance. But like
work.
And not even like the office. He went to the factory.
So eventually get the scene where he pulls up to this factory in, I guess it's supposed to be a nice car. I don't know anything about cars.
They really focus on it being a nice car.
Yeah.
That car comes in multiple scenes.
Yeah.
I think I read something like they made that car specifically for this movie or something.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah, but it was very extra.
They could have put more effort into the movie. And
so maybe like Fast and Furious too. They were trying to get a lot of genres.
Yes, they really were, because these next couple sequences are so action movie. He gets out of the car and we get the typical slow pan of the hero's face as he's getting out. He comes across the Jinn, but the Jinn looks exactly like him and is like mimicking his movements and
reminiscent to the cardboard cutout from earlier.
Yes, looks exactly like it. And it's like kind of teasing him, saying, don't do this, you could have power, I could give you things. And he starts to run away from it. And as it gives chase, he does like this very strange like roundhouse kick, unnecessary, but it's really to splash a circle of holy water around him.
Which good on him.
Like,
good
smart. Like at least you made it, because the Jinn then crashes into the holy water wall. He starts chanting.
His chilla begins, it seems.
Yes,
right?
and which you said he was actually...
This was the weird part for me too, is like the priest was like, once you like do this phrase that I teach you, which again is an Islamic phrase, why is the priest
teaching
exactly. And he's like, they'll come to you. And I was like, if it's the phrase that's going to defeat them, why are they coming to you? Like that banishes them. So that didn't make much sense either. But basically he starts saying it, and they start like basically trying to fool him by like showing his like wife and everything, and her like making up like a sob story, like, oh my gosh, like I'm okay now, and you just come out of the circle, you know what I mean, just be with me. But he's trying to ignore it because he knows it's a trick. And,
I like how she says, this isn't a test, what are you doing? That's a surefire way of knowing it's a test.
So if this happened to you, would you believe me? This always happens in a movie, but it's like the test is starting and immediately they bring in like the most effective thing. It's like your daughter comes up to you and is like, Dad, I'm here. It's like,
yeah, it's in the Evil Dead it happens when the demons are trying to trick Ash too. It's like a very common trope.
The one thing that you would imagine the demons would use against you is the first thing
That's the first thing they use.
Yeah, exactly.
They act like they have attacked her and she's covered in blood. And in this scene, I said she looked like low budget Megan Fox. She very much looks like Megan Fox in Jennifer's Body.
In that last scene.
In that scene where she's covered in blood. This is weird.
She starts like coming at his life too, because he's like, nah, bitch, it's not you. I don't believe you. Yeah. And the head kind of cracks and tilts, and then she starts to attack him verbally. After this is when the Ring of Fire happens, right?
Yes.
So why did the Ring of Fire happen?
I don't know. Holy water, I guess, turns into fire.
I was thinking, like, is the Jinns playing tricks on him or anything? Like, I didn't know if, like, that was him doing something. Like, it's, like, his spiritual power, or it's, like, the Jinns coming in. I mean, I guess the fire thing would be the Jinns, but they didn't really clarify that.
No, they did. While he's in the circle, he kind of has, like, this flashback. Again, this is hard to understand because this movie jumps all over the place with its cuts.
Yeah.
So he's speaking with the Jinn, but he's also back in time, kind of where his ancestor first met him. They're having a conversation that is not great dialogue. It's just kind of like, why are you here? Why are you doing this? I'm going to do it anyway. Like, nothing significant comes
It's
of
a
it.
lot of repetitive that. It happens again later when they're in the house. And then it repeats itself again. And they keep coming back to this house from earlier. And doing the same exact thing. Yeah. It's just a repetition of that interaction with the Jinn.
I wish they give the Jinn a little bit more plot. Like, why does he hate him so much? I mean, it's like, this happened 100 years ago.
Get over it.
Exactly.
Do something else with your time.
Right, because wouldn't it imply that other guy did succeed at killing the Jinn?
Yeah.
Otherwise, why is he getting revenge?
Yeah.
Did he kill him? No.
I don't think so. I mean, because they see him, like, they show a scene of him, like, dead or something, too.
Or wounded with his wife or something.
Mm-hmm. Another thing about this is, like, there's some action scenes here, but, like, I think it would have been good, but, like, their cuts scenes were so weird. Like, the camera's upside down, and like there's just so much smoke. You don't know what's going on.
You don't.
No.
It's
So just,
very
like-
dark in the way that they filmed it, and it's like
Right, the Jinn already has black clouds around it, and then they do it in the dark scene. It's all too much.
he tackles the Jinn for some reason. They're fighting on the ceiling, and he's like just slamming his head in. I think the Jinn would die at this point because he is going for it.
The uncle is
I
in the
don't
asylum.
remember.
This is when he does the my chilla end is
Yeah.
over and rips the chain out the floor.
Yeah, that was
he's
something
fun.
weird. I was like, I thought you failed your chilla. You're still doing it. It's like,
I think it implies that because his nephew passed the Chilla, like he is set free from it.
So now you all fall, then he goes and gets beat up by the Jinn anyway.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's my problem. He was strong enough to rip his fucking chains out of the floor, but he couldn't fight the Jinn at
I
all.
thought it was gonna be like a plot twist, like the
Yeah.
The
uncle
uncle is
is a Jinn.
actually the one.
yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, that the uncle this whole time was just like trying to send Sean off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he was the real villain or something like
Uh-huh.
that. I thought that's where it was going
I killed
to.
their dad.
Yeah, it was me. No, none of that happens.
Nope.
Instead, we get Sean waking up from his chilla and then running out to his car with the Jinn chasing him. It's a weird chase scene where he's being chased by smoke in his sports car. They like really extended the scene.
They wanted to show off the car.
They wanted to show off the
It
car.
makes
they
more
paid
sense
for.
now that you said that they
Yeah.
made it specifically for this movie. That
And
we
the
need to
whole
get our benefit.
time, he's like, "Come on, baby, to the car!" Like, dude, it's a sports car.
It was so weird, repetitive too. He's talking to the car more like sweetly than he does to his own wife.
Yeah, he's way more into this car than he is to his wife. The car is also pregnant.
Oh. The car was also covered in scriptures on the inside, right?
Yeah, I
he
realized that
did.
too. I was like, who did that? Or was like, that was kind of random.
I just thought I missed that in the montage where they were getting ready for the fight.
Yeah, I don't remember them doing that, to be honest.
I
So,
would
like,
assume they did it in the montage, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like a surprise, like, oh, look, they accomplished that. Because he runs to his house, and his house is also covered
Yeah.
in these symbols or scripture.
It's Arabic,
Right,
basically.
yeah.
Probably like Arabic verses in the Quran or whatever. But again, why would the only person who would know how to do that is the priest? And why does the priest
Why
know
does
that?
he know better than him? Yeah, very weird.
There's the final face-off. It's obvious that
It's
this
a
is the end.
strange scene.
He runs into the house and the uncle is there, and this is the part where I thought he was going to stab him.
yeah, I
The
thought the
has
uncle.
knife.
Yeah.
But wait, before that, also and during the car sequence, it shows like they like keep on like cutting towards the priest dude, and he's like in the woods praying or something, and he's
Yeah.
just like, "Help me out here."
Throwing
Whatever.
a knife at the air.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" I didn't really understand what the whole point of that was.
I didn't either. Is it implied that the Jinn he ran into in the forest was actually Gabriel?
Yeah, I thought he like prayed for Gabriel to come back to life or something.
Yeah,
you know what
something
I mean?
like
Oh, maybe
that.
that is what happened.
Yeah.
Or
And then-
I couldn't tell if he was like protecting him or something. I would just it was very confusing. Like I feel like the cut was weird because it was in the middle of like that whole chase sequence.
Yeah, plot twist. The priest was like, the only way to get this Jinn Gabriel back to life is if he's the Christian angel Gabriel.
Well, that ends up not being true because he's Jewish. We find out in the end.
Yeah.
A Jewish Jinn.
And it's the only tie-in to make that logo. I mean, the logo is pretty cool, but it's the only tie-in to make the logo make sense. Because
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
Star of David
Yeah,
cross, and
the star, moon, whatever.
it doesn't have a name.
I mean, not really. I think it just, I don't know why that's an Islamic symbol, to be honest. I think it's just because, like, the moon and the sun, I mean, the moon represents, like, a creation of God. But yeah,
Okay.
it's taken by a lot of Muslim countries, so I guess that's kind of been the symbol.
Yeah. Gabriel ended up being Jewish was the only way that they can tie it into that.
It
Yeah.
was.
For the symbol to
It
make
was like
sense.
a very, and it was like a post-credit scene they did it in too.
Yeah, Nick
It
Fury
made it
style.
so dramatic.
Yeah, they
Just, like,
did. Like you said, he shows up at the house and the uncle is there and helps him up, you know, buff arm shot to get them up. And it's cutting to the priest praying in the woods. We get the sense that because he asked for someone to watch over this boy, Gabriel comes back to life because that's been his job the entire freaking time. In the house, the Jinn appears from his own circle of fire thing in the middle
Yeah.
of the house. And he is made of molten lava. It's not a way we've seen him before.
He quickly dispatches of the uncle.
Oh my god.
Also, how did he get in the house? I thought there were verses all around the house, too.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
This was confusing. The whole point was that
Yeah.
they can't get in.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is that Sean, the entire fight as it's going on with his uncle, is like struggling with holy water
Yeah,
forever for like way too
He's
long.
like filling the sink with a pot and everything.
Yeah.
And then he stumbles
like-
and runs into the counter, and the counter.
He's like, oh, I've never cooked in my life. I don't know how pots
I've never
and pans
drank
work.
water in my
I've
life.
never drank water. How does this work? And he's like, we're trying to run. It's like a comedy almost,
it
where he's
reminds
trying
me
to
of-
run and throw it at the
It
gym.
reminds me of the Evil Dead 2 when Ash is in the kitchen fighting with himself.
Oh yeah, flipping, but at least there's a reason for that one. This one, he's just like panicking.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't seen this Jinn a million times already.
And then the water ends up not even mattering because it just gets knocked out of his hand, and then the Jinn chokes him.
This is one of those very strange cuts you don't
Yeah.
dream within a dream sequences that this movie
The
does.
flashback that happens throughout this whole movie over and over to have the same dialogue again.
Yes, and it's back to the beginning of his first ancestor actually fighting this. Only this time, it seems like Sean's finally paid attention and noticed that the dagger was left somewhere and the holy water was left somewhere. They battle in this dream world.
Upside down.
Upside down again. But in the dream world, it looks like Sean defeats the Jinn, but then he like wakes up and he's still fighting the Jinn.
The Jinn is still choking him.
Still choking him.
And he chokes the Jinn back.
Yeah, suddenly,
and then they're both just chucking each other.
Suddenly he's like woken up with powers. Yes, they're choking each other out.
They're both into it.
They're both into it, you know.
So much so that they decide to go take a swim
outside.
And crash outside the window.
Because somehow this man has reached into the past and pulled out holy water.
Is that where he got that?
That's where it came from, because he spilled the rest on the ground.
So he pulled it from his memory?
Yes, he pulled it from the past.
Wow.
They jump into that fountain that was panned over very dramatically in the beginning.
And they kill the Jinn like the Llorona.
Oh, yes, it's basically the same thing, because a little bit of the water has gotten into the pool.
So the whole pool's now blessed.
The whole pool is now blessed, and the Jinn is like freaking out. He doesn't like it, and then he like grabs him and like sinks
he's literally
with
on
him.
Fire.
Yeah, sinks with him to the bottom of the very deep fountain for some fucking reason.
The Jinn didn't even get killed by the holy water. The Jinn was just like, I'm made of fire. I hate water. This is the last place I want to be.
Any regular water would have killed me.
Yeah. This fountain's like 6 feet deep, and Sean is drowning in it for some reason.
Just so we can get Gabriel to come in and pull him out of the water and dramatically do some like, yes, oh my god, we can talk about how much I hate that last scene, but it's just Gabriel comes in and dramatically, like, magically gives him CPR, the water just comes out of him, and for some fucking reason, he has to take his shirt off.
Yeah, I mean, his shirt's just off randomly, and it's the token, like, oh my gosh, like, attractive.
Shirtless scene, because all these portals are opening, and all these different type of looking Jinns are coming out of them. We get, like, kind of like a octopus-looking one that you said looked like Loki, because he has the horn, seems to be the leader. And I hate how much it is built up. Yeah. He's taken off his like little remaining piece of clothing forever.
It's just like one little leather
strap, and he just forever take it off. I'm just like, are you gonna wear it? Are you not gonna wear it? Make up your mind.
Like really determined looking, and you're like, okay, we're about to get a sequence where he kicks everyone's ass, right?
This is the part where I thought that the movie was building up this story that a war is coming. There was so much focus on this one Jinn that I was like, it's gonna end where there's no final battle, and there's gonna be no payoff to this whole story, because if it's a war, you're imagining, okay, he's one fighter in this war amongst others who are like him, right? He can't be the only bloodline that has this guardian power. There's others. There's got to be. At least with what makes sense for that backstory that they're giving it. This ending kind of just plays into that all coming to nothing anyway.
Yes, because this Jinn basically says, you made an enemy of that one Jinn. Don't make an enemy of the rest of us. The other Jinn's dead, dude. Why'd you have to show up for some beef? Like, mind your business. And
we don't like him anyway.
Yeah. And immediately this dude, again, because he's revved up for a battle, he just grabs him by the neck, body slams him to the ground, and stabs him. And you think he's about to go in on the rest of them, and the rest of them are like, oh, it's cool, man. We didn't want any beef. And then go back in their portals.
Doesn't even make sense.
No.
It's like, this is why the Jinns hate you.
Exactly. And it's like, it's turned into like some sort of superhero thing too. I'm just like, bruh.
Yes. It's like very exaggerated, like his sweaty workout macho man.
Yeah,
scene.
honestly, the tentacle one could have probably taken him.
Honestly, he could just wrap him up.
He's just some dude.
He's just some dude.
The whole movie, he's just gotten his ass kicked and choked.
And I think it's strange too, because like at the end he has like powers, but throughout the movie, like Jinns have been like, they can float, they can twist people around, but now basically like, even with that same amount of power, like, why aren't they doing that? Like, why aren't they throwing him back? Why aren't they lifting him up? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
They become human.
Exactly. Like, there's like the power, like his power increases, but not to the level that he could even face them to. So I'm just like, doesn't make much sense.
It was weird.
The priest had Jasmine this whole time. And
yes.
Had they told him that they had Jasmine, he wouldn't have done it or something.
Basically, Gabriel, because his whole life is about protecting him and his lineage, hid the wife because he knew she was pregnant because he impregnated her. But
he takes it so calmly. I would have been like, bitch, you waited the
you
whole
took
thing.
my wife. I didn't have to do all that. Like,
and she was so chill about it. She's like, oh my gosh, hi, how's it going? Like,
everything's fine. Yeah, because she's cheating on him with Gabriel, and he doesn't want him to be suspicious. Eric's like the light bulb just went off.
At the beginning of the movie, she makes a weird comment about liking one of his coworkers a lot too. Do you remember that? He says something about the promotion. He's like, oh my god, I like really look up to blah blah blah, and she's like, yeah, blah 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 is like really great, and it's a long pause kind of moment. I was thinking that there was gonna be a cheating sequence. The whole baby I can't have kids thing, I thought it was gonna turn into I'm cheating on you.
I cheated on you, yeah.
But not with your promotion. That was last time. This time it's this.
This time it's a Jinn.
Honestly, they could have gotten away with not having that too, which is like, oh, she can't get pregnant, but she is. Like, what?
Yeah, weird
It was just
backstory. After we find out she was stolen by Gabriel, it's the 1 year later sequence. And what is so funny about that? That's what happened.
He was taken.
She was taken. Yeah. See, this movie can't decide what type of movie it wants to be.
The horror itself is that the script is so bad.
Yeah, it truly is. We see that the uncle has become part of the family, teaching him about his dad and things like that. The baby then drops his pacifier on the ground, and then as the uncle and the dad both go, Sean, the dad, go pick it up for him, the baby freaking telekinetic
picks it up.
Yes.
And they're just
puts it back in his mouth.
Back in his mouth. I would be like, that's dirty, don't do that. But
they're also silent, and they're all just staring at the wife too. And that was the confusing part of me. I was like, are they saying he's the guardian, or are they saying that she fucked Gabriel?
She's like, ooh, awkward, I gotta explain.
Because they were all just staring at her for like a good 10 seconds, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. Sean can also like telekinetically grab things, so like I didn't get if the implication was like their son could do it, that mean that he's the guardian, he's the actual chosen one that they've been talking about this whole time. It's an open-ended question.
But chosen one for what? There's no battle. They keep talking about this battle and this war that's coming. That it sounds like the Jinns, when they showed up, were like, bro, we ain't even trying to fight you.
Exactly. I mean, I'm wondering if it's like they made it seem like there's like a single guardian in like the entirety of like humanity, but like I feel like I don't know if they were trying to be like, oh, like generationally there's a new guardian or something like that, and then the Jinns always try to target that person. That would have made more sense. But I don't know.
All the Jinns, not just this one Jinn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it didn't really make much sense.
So like Buffy, how like every generation a Slayer is born, and like all the vampires try to. Again, this movie wants to be everything, because you also pointed out it has heavy, and I agree, heavy supernatural vibes.
Oh yeah, because it felt like a show. The whole movie has like soap opera-y / like TV show vibes that I think it had made more sense that if it was like certain lineages of people, not just this one, but many folk exist with this in their blood where they're defenders of the human race against Jinns. But it was like, this one guy is our only defender. But
the uncle was it, but then his son.
But then his son, so like, who is it?
Guess no one is.
Yeah, that's it.
But then there's a post-credit scene, basically, where, I mean, it just Gabriel's awkwardly talking to the priest, and then finds out that Gabriel's Jewish, and then the priest is like, you could have been a Christian.
Way to work that in there.
I thought Gabriel's introduction was to be like, he's the angel Gabriel. Turns out he's a Jinn.
What's his motive too? I was like, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, what is for you to like?
That's
like,
true. At the end of the day, why is he protecting this family so much?
Yeah, who put you there?
Yeah,
God. I thought you weren't an angel.
Yeah. So many questions from this film. But what did you guys think of it? Silence.
I mean, like, it was entertaining. I'll say that. And again, I'm happy that like there was some sort of like. There was, to some level, there was some sort of like my culture put out there that never, like, usually isn't. So I was happy about that. But I mean, I think just overall, they had so much potential and they just lost it. And even if this was like, I think this would work much better as a TV show, to be honest, too, because then you could cover so much more in much detail. But like, it didn't meet the requirement, you know, of what could have been done.
Yeah, I guess watching this, not knowing anything about Jinns, I still wouldn't think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
The storyline is cheesy. Like, I kind of got what they were trying to do, but it still fell short somehow. Yeah, I think I would rate it a 5.5 out of 10.
I'd honestly give it a 3.
Yeah, I was going to say like 4.5.
Because some of the scenes were kind of funny.
Like, yeah, they were. There's a lot of things
There's a lot of plot holes.
Yeah, the story.
It's just a script itself, to be honest. I think if the script had made more sense, then I think like the other stuff would have just been fine. Because the animation was fine. I think the jump cuts were kind of excessive, you know, whatever. But like I feel like with the right script, it would have made sense. But yeah, it just the script fell short.
Get rid of the superhero thing and just focus on the one Jinn. If it's just this guy's haunted by this Jinn, make it a horror movie about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you though with the representation.
Yeah,
because we talked about this too with the La Llorona episode. That although the movie sucks, I like that more of this is happening.
Exactly.
It's not just white people all over film.
Even though this film was pretty whitewashed.
Yeah. So is La Llorona. But it's like, we got to count our wins.
Take what we can get, I guess.
Which sucks, right?
Yeah.
Because like they don't say the same. We have to.
No,
say
absolutely not.
So if there's a producer or director, listening to this, like, make a better one.
Yeah.
Do better.
Do some more research. God damn.
Jesus.
And maybe have some more brown people.
Yeah, actually advise on the film that would know.
Like I said, Hollywood is like, let's just make the director the culture of whatever this movie's about.
No, Hollywood does not do that because they
So that people believe it.
They will cast people who are like clearly written as people of color. They'll cast white people.
Yeah,
in
they
those
could even
roles.
have like a Middle Eastern like Christian priest or something. That would have made more sense too.
Yeah.
But it just like
Or he was once Muslim and is now
exactly
Christian or
just
something.
something like that.
Something to
That would
explain
make,
that.
Yeah.
There's so many things that they needed to explain and they didn't for sure in this film.
I think they thought they were gonna have a sequel.
Oh yeah, you could tell they were gonna like. They kept talking about the war, like you said, that was gonna happen, but
A prequel series of Gabriel.
Yeah, let's find out how he does jazz.
how he got there. Yeah.
Why'd he choose Judaism?
Yeah. It's interesting to find out.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up Castlevania there in creepy content though, because I thought the priest in the sequence where he's got the hood and is standing with the staff and the blade, I felt was very Castlevania.
Exactly. Yeah.
He looks very occult in that scene,
Yeah.
actually, for being a Christian pastor or whatever.
Yeah, he looks like the type of guy who would tell Quasimodo he's ugly.
Oh, that guy is crazy.
I like to think that this is what priests do in their free time. You know what I mean? Just
Tell people they're ugly.
that, and plus I don't know, fighting demons and stuff.
Yeah, they're actually
What else do
really
they do?
exciting jobs when you think about
Yeah.
exorcisms. But should we talk about what scared Loki this week?
I think he was kind of thrown off by the forest scene. He shot up from under the table and went outside to see because he thought it was coming from.
Oh no, I did not notice that.
Enrique's the one who pointed it out. He's like, the bushes are ruffling in the movie, and
He
like,
thinks it's
shot out.
outside.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hilarious. Well, he's been an asshole this week. So
Oh man, the ultimate
he's
asshole.
eaten everything, so I don't think he's afraid of anything. He's just hungry.
He's like, come here, Jinn, I'm gonna eat you too.
Yeah. But do you want to tell us about it, Loki? All right, stop eating our stuff.
He's a Jinn, he's invisible. He said they come in the form of black dogs.
Yeah, black dogs, black cats, snakes, stuff like that.
Black snakes?
Yeah, well, not black snakes, which
Just
is silly,
snakes.
but yeah.
People do not like snakes,
Yeah.
usually.
We want a black cat too.
Is
That'd
that... Yeah, we just want to adopt black pets. Is that pretty much it for us here?
I think so. Thanks, Bilal.
Cool.
We appreciate it. Hope
Of
everybody
course.
loves you as much as we do.
Oh my gosh, thank
Is
you.
there anything you want to promote?
Guys, continue watching this podcast. It's really great. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Nature Boy Billy. On TikTok, where I'm pretty active, you can follow me on bcoke09. So BCOKES09. I make some pretty depressing and also just really lively content. Hopefully, we'll give you some laughs. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
We'll link all his info in the show notes if you guys do want to follow along.
My LinkedIn as well.
If you're looking to hire. As usual, we hope you guys had a good time here. You could follow us pretty much anywhere at Shaken Not Scared Pod, except on Twitter. On Twitter, we're Shaken Scared Pod. Send us an email at shakennot@gmail.com.
You can support the show on Patreon. We'll name our next drink after you with mentions on our website where the drink page will live forever. You can listen to us on all your favorite podcasting sites, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, a bunch of others. Give us a listen. Give us a follow.
Please be sure to subscribe, rate, review.
Do it. Just do it. It's nice.
It would make my day. All right. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.